Paul Fontaine. We just saw the kickoff to the road to WrestleMania, and chaos ensued, so much so that I think the internet thinks that WWE screwed up here. What was your well, we'll go through the whole press conference. I have all notes. I took notes on it's on fightgamemedia.com. Give me your first impression of everything that they threw at us earlier this evening.
Like in terms of where it's going or just in general?
What did you think of the whole event?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was kind of cool. Like it was, it made it sure made like this feel like, like the biggest wrestling event in a long time. Like just Vegas and all the pomp and circumstance and and they had like the normally I skip those pre-show panel things like what they did, but I actually watched this one because they had interesting people on there that I was interested in what they had to say. And yeah, just like I watched it an hour, like I watched it on delay because I didn't know like is there gonna be a ton of stuff I need to skip and everything, and there was like hardly anything to skip in my mind anyways. I just thought it was like a really, really good kickoff, and if they're happy with how this went off, I hope they do something like this every year, honestly.
So, okay. Was what they did on your radar in any way?
What do you mean by like on my radar? Like in terms of like,
did you think The Rock was going to slap the taste out of Cody Rhodes' mouth?
No. I mean, it kind of as it was going on, it felt like that's where it was heading. But certainly, like going in. Okay, so going in, I just figured, you know what, we're just gonna get them all out there. Like I kind of figured like how the beginning went was up until Seth. I figured everything was pretty much by the book. It was good. It was really good, like I was like, why is Bianca there? And like so she did some stuff, and then like
she was there because they have the TV show. That's why she was
sure, yeah. But I mean, in terms of WrestleMania, Rhea Becky, like we got the shot of them together, and we got the pull apart and everything, so that was good. And then and then Seth, and then that's where it kind of started to. I mean, it felt like it was going off the rails, even though I'm pretty sure now that everything that happened was exactly how it was supposed to happen.
Like you weren't thrown off by Triple H saying people went into business for themselves tonight.
No. Although I will say CM Punk saying, when people have problems, they need to settle it with a fist to the face. I was like, oh man, he's been waiting to say that, and it was like they just gave him a reason to. That was great. And I'm sure he couldn't contain his glee.
Okay. I was really surprised at where they went for this thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I did not it feels like a tease for a tag team match is what it came down to. Yeah. Now, we know that it's not just going to be a tag team match. So whether or not it is, one night Cody and Roman and the next night tag team match, what it tells me, at least what they did, and we'll get to it in a second, is that one of the main focuses of this WrestleMania is going to be Triple H against The Rock in a battle of who's the more powerful person in WWE or something. And so we'll talk about that. But the reason why I'm a little bit worried about that is because do you remember WrestleMania 16? The Rock,
yeah, the four McMahons.
The Rock beats the Big Show in the Royal Rumble. He actually screws up and gets in. He eliminates himself, but they just don't bother with it, and he actually wins, beats the Big Show, and it turns into a four-way because they wanted all of the McMahons to be in the main event.
Yeah,
and ultimately, it was disappointing creatively and a step down from the previous WrestleMania. Obviously, no Stone Cold Steve Austin and all that, but as I was watching this, my main concern was this side thing that looks to be happening with The Rock and Triple H. It's almost like two old guys involved. Like with The Rock by himself with Roman, like there's a reason, but then you threw Triple H in there. I was like, oh, two old guys from the late 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's not like they don't have a history, and I'm hoping, and again, I don't know exactly where this is going, but I'm hoping like that sort of stuff is going to be more like kind of as part of the lead up to it, as
Yes.
opposed
Yes.
to like something that's going to actually happen on screen. Like I don't think we're going to have Triple H in, like Cody's corner or anything.
No, I
I
don't think
hope
so.
not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
What I can foresee though is Triple H has already started. He tweeted out
Yes. Oh,
Cody and Roman is the main event. That's what he tweeted out.
okay.
Okay. Roman and The Rock at the end of this show, they said that Triple H needs to clean this up.
Yeah.
And that's when Triple H was also saying that, guys are going into business for themselves. So it was a little bit like who's in charge here to me. And I
Hmm.
could see The Rock wanting one thing, Triple H saying another thing, and there being steps involved in how we get there. And which tells me that The Rock is probably going to be on a lot of these TVs as well. And Triple H is going to have to be on these TVs as well as
Yeah.
characters. That's what that end led me to believe. But let's actually go through. I'll go through it quickly because this was a long press conference. This thing went on
Yeah. I was
forever.
worried. I recorded on my PVR and I was worried. Oh, I hope I recorded long enough, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
So
I got it all.
the hosts were Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, Big E, and CM Punk. CM Punk was dressed very nicely. He was dressed better than some of the main eventers on this in this thing. Okay, so they were trying. The intro was about setting the tone. Big E was on the Cody side of things. Obviously, we know they have a relationship somewhat as well. And Punk was talking about bringing in someone like The Rock into the mix. He kind of compared The Rock to Tom Brady in this weird way that I'm not sure he actually understood himself, but I don't think he's a giant football fan. He was trying to make it make sense because Pat McAfee was there.
Is he saying like this? Like you're gonna pull Brock Purdy and sign Tom Brady and put him in the Super Bowl? I think that's what he was saying.
He said something like, you have your NFC quarterbacks getting yourself to the big game, and then you have Tom Brady waiting. Like that
Yeah.
actually functionally can't happen unless Tom Brady is on
Yeah.
a roster. But
Yeah.
that's what he was kind of saying. You know what? He's actually not that far off from the truth because Brock Purdy got hurt at the end of the last season. And the
Hmm.
Niners made a call to one Tom Brady because they didn't know if Purdy was going to be back
Mm.
this year. So he wasn't that far off, but I don't think he really understood what he was actually talking about. All right. So Byron Saxton talked to Paul Heyman about Roman Reigns' mood, and Heyman did his normal spooky, trying to freak out Saxton. They announced something called WWE Speed, and they announced a partnership with X, aka Twitter. They're going to be 5-minute matches, and it tells me that they don't actually they couldn't find a broadcast partner for this, so it's going on X.
I ain't watching that.
It reminds me of the Facebook thing. Remember the mixed match
Yep.
Facebook challenge that they also didn't have a broadcast deal for, and so yeah, that I don't know. I can't imagine there's going to be a huge audience for
They actually put that
WWE
on TV in
Speed.
Canada. They
Oh, the
and
mixed
so I
match
watched.
challenge.
Yeah, yeah. So I watched a bit of that, but I ain't watching this.
All right. Michael Cole introduces Triple H. Triple H starts talking about the history of the first WrestleMania. He mentions the main event of the first ever WrestleMania was a tag team match with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Rowdy Roddy Piper against Hogan and Mr. T. He talked about WWE's ascension in closed circuit TV, pay-per-view, streaming, Netflix. He called it a new era in an all-new WWE. Bianca came out, like you said. She didn't really have a lot to say, but she's one of their bigger stars. She's got to plug her TV show. She mentioned the history of facing Sasha Banks at WrestleMania 37. She did say the name Sasha Banks, and also Becky Lynch. Rhea Ripley came out. She said it didn't surprise her that Bayley would turn on her friends and challenge Io, even though she called her Io Shirai, instead of Rhea because she doesn't want to lose. Once she's done dealing with Nia Jax, she'll be ready for whoever wins the chamber. Becky's music interrupted her. They did a face-off. Becky was wearing giant heels because she was eye to eye with Rhea in this thing. And then Adam Pearce broke it up. Seth came out dressed to the nines like only Seth Rollins can be. he started to talk and he started to mention Cody Rhodes. And before he could even really get anything out, Roman Reigns' music started to play. Now, everybody knows Roman Reigns has a extremely long entrance, right? That music has got to play and play and play and play and play. Here, he didn't have to walk very far, but that music kept playing and playing and playing. I was like, oh my God, where's my fast forward button on this live
That's what I was doing.
show?
Yeah.
So Roman starts talking about Cody as someone who hesitates and cannot make a decision. He said it's no longer Cody's decision, it's his, and he's choosing who faces him at WrestleMania, and that person is The Rock. The Rock's music played. The Rock came out to a mixed reaction, but I would say it was more boos than cheers to this Las Vegas audience.
But it was loud. Like everyone in that building reacted.
They wanted to catcall him as much as humanly possible as well. So Rock was on Pat McAfee's show earlier today, and he did not lean into the heel stuff. He did a little bit of his heel character because he was making fun of the Cody fans, not the Cody fans who believe in Cody and who are real fans of Cody's. He was kind of making fun of like the old stereotype of like the booger eaters, kind of. He was like, the guys who are on their computer and wanting to tweet, and their son comes over and they says, "Hey Dad, let's go throw the football." And they're like, "No, I gotta complain about some wrestling angle." And he did like a couple of them. And the last one was about the wife wanting to have sex with the guy, and the guy turns down the sex because he wants to tweet about wrestling. So he leaned into like some really bad stereotypes. I thought that was interesting, but those are the fans that he called the Cody crybabies. So he actually used that term on this press conference, but he had actually used it on McAfee's show earlier. So The Rock does this long spiel, but he's got to wait because the crowd is just so loud. He asked the fans if they thought Roman would beat him at WrestleMania. The fans started to chant, "We want Cody." But there was a small contingent of fans who did respond with "Cody sucks." I think they were just playing the game. He welcomed the fans, the media, and the Cody crybabies. And then he got the what chants. And then he showed a large graphic on that giant screen of the actual bloodline, a.k.a. the Samoan Dynasty family tree. The Rock said the biggest main event in the history of professional wrestling, and it's bound by blood. And he stuck his hand out to shake Roman's hand, and then they embraced. And that's when Cody came out. He basically cut them off and was like, "This is BS." He said he won the Royal Rumble, and he has made his decision. He wants Roman. Roman says he must be crazy and stupid. No one cares about him finishing the story. He's embarrassing his family. He's irrelevant, just like his dad. And that got Cody's attention. Remember when Cody said that he didn't really want people to talk about his dad? Cody said,
I gasped when Roman would do that line. I'll tell you that.
Cody looked at Roman directly and said, "If your grandfather was here, be ashamed of you." And that is when Rock got mad. Yeah. So Rock didn't get mad at Roman for making fun of Dusty, but Rock did get mad when Cody gave him the receipt. The Rock said, "If you're talking about Roman's family, you're talking about my family, and now we have a problem." And then this dude slapped the taste out of Cody's mouth. Seth was pissed. So was Cody. CM Punk was actually making fun of both guys, going like,
"Yep,
you guys got to be throwing punches there. What are you guys doing?" I was kind of thinking the same thing because they're the baby faces. And then they cut to the host. They didn't really know what was going on. It was quite comedic, I would say, for Michael Cole and Pat McAfee to go like, "I'm not sure I know what's going on."
Yeah.
So then they cut right before the end. This thing ended. Triple H was in the back with Jackie Redmond, and he stared down The Rock, who came over to him with Roman. And the way they shot this thing, The Rock looked like the biggest human being possible, like just walking by.
He's like 2 feet taller than Triple H, and about 200 pounds heavier.
Told him he needs to fix it, and he says that's what happens when Cody talks about his family. Okay, So I think right when this thing was over, and our Discord, it's funny because we don't have the hardcore WWE fans in our Discord, except for Salty Scott and Keela a little bit, but Keela watches all the shows, and Joe Gilbert. Like, I was really hoping Joe Gilbert was in there because, you know, he's really mostly a WWE fan. But a lot of the people in there were just people who were like, "Oh, I want to see what happens." And we are a heavy AEW Discord, which I think actually makes our Discord better because it's just more thoughtful and less like WWE spammy. But at the same time, they don't watch WWE weekly necessarily. They pop in, and that's kind of the thing about WWE, right? Is you pop in when the big shows happen. You can follow. You don't have to follow week to week if you don't want to. And so they were very negative on the thing. And I was just trying to stay down the middle, which I think some took to mean like that I really loved this thing. Like I thought it was really great. And I'm not judging it yet because I think it's a lot of story left to tell. And I think that's the goal really is you kind of got to get sucked in for Raw and SmackDown if you really want to follow this thing closely. But when it was over, my initial thought was, okay, they are setting up a tag team match.
Yeah.
And I think Brian and Dave both tweeted the same thing.
Oh, I didn't see that, but I texted Dave and I said, "Oh, it looks like a tag match, and then maybe a singles title match the next night." And he said, "Yep, that's what I think too." So,
and then somehow, some way, we eventually get to Cody and Roman. You know, the other thing about this, and I don't know why this is that big of a deal, but it is a big deal to a lot of people, is was this the actual story? Was this the story that people were trying to tell from the beginning? And I don't know for sure. I mean, there are a lot of clues that tell you that this is probably the broader story that they were trying to tell. And I think the problem is that they're trying to do a few things here. And they have this WrestleMania and Rock is locked in, right? He's on the board.
yep,
So it's going to be about his schedule. So whether or not they eventually do a Rock and Roman match later this year or maybe at next year's WrestleMania, I think the setup is bound by blood. Rock and Roman are somehow affiliated. And then Roman, who is the real heel, and The Rock is just trying to stick up for his family. So he's really kind of a baby face at the same time, but because he's facing off against the other baby faces, he's on the heel side. Eventually, he's going to stick to his word, and Roman is going to kind of heel on him, and that sets up whatever they have down the line. I also think, and this is what is really interesting, because Seth Rollins comes across looking like not a main eventer in this entire thing.
no,
And I wondered why. Some of it is he takes pot shots at Roman, and Roman just gets him back like a little bit harder, and it so makes him look like he can't really respond to that. But the other thing is the fans don't see the connection really to the other three guys. To the other two guys on the other
yeah,
side. Like
yeah,
I always have seen the connection to Roman and Seth as like, oh, this is kind of like your 20 whatever version of Rock and Triple H. But
yeah.
WWE, once this bloodline thing took off, I don't think that they've seen these guys necessarily as equal. It's like it's a 1 and a 2 for sure.
Well, they call each other brothers, so they want us to remember the Shield.
Yes. The other thing though is if Rock is doing this tag match, the ascension is not just for Cody. It is also for Seth because Seth is on this giant stage. So it's Seth, Roman, and Cody. Not really equals necessarily, but like the top guys. These are anointing. These are your top guys for this company. You are on stage with Rock, the bright lights. And so I think they have a lot of work to do with Seth, though. Not only is this dude hurting, but character-wise, he's also kind of left out a little bit, and I think Roman even called him second string or something like that. So, I'm all for it because I think if you
Mhm.
do have The Rock for this small amount of time, you do want the spotlight shown on more than just Roman Reigns, and ultimately, I think this is the vehicle to get Cody to be the super babyface of all baby faces, and they're trying to utilize that, and The Rock is going like, "Hey, if I'm gonna play ball, like, I'm gonna really sink my teeth into this thing, and let's go with the chants and stuff. And so there are some things that need to be tied together that I want to ask you about.
So I think that I do think that this was probably the plan, and there's some stuff that never quite made sense, all along. And
Yes.
I kept going back to, and we did the show last week on Saturday, after the SmackDown, and I thought they were heading to a triple threat, and the reason is because I didn't think Rock can do a singles match,
Mhm.
and it's possible he can't even do like a triple threat, like, so if he does a tag match, he's going to be on the apron most of the time. He's going to come in for his hot tag. He's going to do his moves, and then, they're going to do their finish. The other thing I've always wondered is Seth even going to be ready?
Mhm.
And so really, like, this match is going to end up, if they do the tag match, it's going to end up being Cody versus Roman for most of it. And
Mhm.
you'll have Seth come in for a few spots, and you'll have Rock come in for a few spots. We've got 2 months. And I think this is where Drew's going to come in. I think Drew is going to help elevate Seth through this whole thing in the lead up. And I do also think that it's possible that, let's say Seth takes the fall, and then maybe they do a cash in, and then that's how you get the belt off of Seth. They could do that. Or the other thing I could see is if they do, it depends when the placement of the two matches. If they do the title match first, I could see in the tag match the next night, Rock ends up taking the fall, and then Roman turns on him, and Cody makes a save for Rock. I could see that. And then that way you have Roman raising Cody's hands at the end of the second night of WrestleMania. He's the champion. He won it on the first night. And then that, takes you off into wherever you're going to go. And again, in that scenario, Seth is kind of an afterthought, but maybe just putting him in this main event, which I'm sure they think is the biggest main event that they've ever done, is a reward for Seth, carrying the company for, him and Cody for the last year.
I think this dude's wrestling. I think this dude's gonna be the workhorse of the whole thing.
Well, that could be, and so if you want to compare it to the first WrestleMania, that makes him basically Paul Orndorff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're reversing the heel face dynamic, but Hogan is Roman, Mr. T is The Rock, and then you've got on the other side, you've got Piper is Cody, and so Seth is the workhorse that kind of keeps the whole thing together, like Orndorff was in that match.
Yeah, I know he's hurt, but I think if you keep him out of the ring from now
Yeah,
until WrestleMania, and he just rehabs the hell out of his knee, he's
one
not gonna
more
be
match.
100%, but he's only
Yeah,
gotta work that one match. And like you said, I think also the key, they kinda sorta have to get the belt off of him, because why is he going
yeah.
to be involved in the tag team title match if he has that belt? That's an interesting scenario.
Well, it's not a tag team title match. It's
I
just a
mean,
tag
sorry,
match.
yeah, the tag
Yeah,
team match.
yeah. Well, I mean, Roman's in it too, right? Or whoever the champ is. So it's more of like a grudge match, and that's just like the first Mania, right? The very first Mania, no belts were on the line. Hogan was a champion. It was, and Triple H bringing that up, I think was a clue, to kind of set you up for, hey, the first Mania was a tag match. This can be a tag match too, maybe. Just me reading the tea leaves. Yeah, and yeah, I'm kind of glad, like, I wasn't in that Discord discussion, and I will say, as someone who is more of a WWE fan than most of the people in our Discord, sometimes it's frustrating talking to people that I know aren't watching it regularly, and they're just giving their opinion off of, the clips that they've seen or the social media. And they want to bag on WWE because they like AW and all that. So I get all that, and I probably do the same thing on the other side, if I'm being honest. You know, but I mean, I do it in
Even
fun.
though
You know,
you
like,
do a show on AEW,
I love
on
AEW.
Dynamite?
I spend more money on AEW than anything,
Me
and and
too.
if I was talking to a WWE fan, I'd probably bag on WWE a little bit.
Yeah,
It's just kind of what I like to do. But because you can pick apart both sides if you really really want to.
absolutely.
Yeah, but I thought this, like, I just thought it was a lot of fun, and it's interesting. We got a lot of questions coming out of it, and again, like, part of our issue is trying to figure out where they're going without having all the pieces together. And we had some pretty good ideas on Saturday of where we thought it was going, and we have some more today. And you know what? They got 2 months, so
Yes,
whatever
that
their
is the
plan
other thing.
is,
You know,
yeah,
I'm gonna blame Dave Meltzer for this. Dave got people excited by saying he thought the path would be transparent after this press
Yeah.
conference, and it was not. It was actually maybe even more chaotic than people realize, or the
Didn't
path
he
wasn't
Yeah.
straight.
Didn't he say the same thing, to you on Friday before SmackDown?
Well,
"Oh, we're gonna
yeah,
know
he
tonight."
said after SmackDown we'll know where they're
Yeah.
going, and
Yeah.
I think that just meant you'll know whether The Rock is involved or not.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's really what that meant. But okay, so here's a question.
Okay.
On Friday, Cody came out. He basically says he's not finishing the story at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
That was the line. And then he and The Rock had their little hug, whatever, and then he left. What is they didn't explain that very clearly. What I took was Cody heard the chants for him. He heard The Rock say that there's only one dynasty in
Mhm.
wrestling, and he got offended, and he was like, "Okay, like I changed my mind." Not that he didn't actually say I changed my mind, but he's like, "I've made my
"I choose
decision."
you." Yeah.
And then he tweeted this, which is part of the problem because people use Twitter as if everyone is on Twitter and we're not. I just saw it because someone had posted it in our Discord.
Yeah, me too, me too.
So that I think is also a little bit of a sticking point with the fans who want to say that they're just creating this storyline out of their ass right now, is because Cody did not connect those dots from Friday with today.
Well, and I don't know when that tweet went out, if it was before or after Rock did McAfee. So in storyline, that could have affected his decision. Certainly, the "We Want Cody" chants ever since Saturday at all the events could have affected his decision. The fact that it was trending on Twitter, and I'm just talking character wise,
Yeah.
and even and it could have even been that going into tonight, the character of Cody was all ready to pick Seth. And then Rock invoked his dad, and then I can't remember whether it was Rock or Roman that said there's only one royal family
Yeah.
in WWE, which is the opening line to Cody's song.
Right.
Or is it more than one or only one? I
I don't
was never quite sure.
I don't know, but
Um,
I know people who love that song so much.
I do.
I
Yeah.
talked to somebody who said when they need to feel good about themselves and they are inspired, they want to feel inspired, that is the song that they play. And I did not
Wow.
even know this person was a wrestling fan, and they told this to me. And they didn't know that I do all of this other stuff. But for
Not for me. I
whatever
just like this
reason,
song.
that
I just
song
like the
does.
song.
So on I don't remember when I posted it. I'm sure people connected that, but I thought that was gonna be part of it too, was
Yeah.
this idea of the families, and Cody's, obviously. Now, it'd be great if we had Dustin, to come
Oh
hang
man.
out. That would be
If
so
if
fantastic.
you could have Dustin instead of Seth, this would be so perfect.
Yeah, so, okay, some of the other thoughts that I had coming out of this is that line that I won't finish the story at WrestleMania, without that line, you don't get the fans to start the "We Want Cody" stuff.
Right. Exactly.
So that line had to be there. And
Yep.
now maybe on Monday he goes through what you just said. I was
Yeah.
ready to let The Rock do this. He wanted it so badly. He asked me. He said, this was maybe his last chance. And so I was ready to allow him to do that, knowing that I'm going to get another opportunity. I believe in myself that much. But then when he dissed my family, I couldn't take that anymore. Yeah, and maybe he does say that on Monday, though.
My family and my fans,
Though I
uh,
thought he was going to explain his decision on this Monday on Ron. He didn't. He
no,
didn't. They just kind of let it
we have
hang, and we had to get to this before he could say anything.
and this is the other thing that when you talk about whether it was pre-planned. I mean, there's so many of these pieces that were in place already, even though we didn't know it. Like just the fact that they booked this building. I mean,
Yes.
they probably booked this like a month ago, and they didn't book it, just to announce Rock versus Roman, when they were already gonna have Cody win the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Like they had this idea, and having the eyes of the media on there. That's another thing, we should probably mention. Why did they have media there? I'm not quite sure. I asked Filthy because he was the F4W correspondent. I'm like, why was media there? And he's like, I have no idea.
Okay, you know why?
No.
They don't think very highly of them.
Well, yeah, okay. But I mean, they literally had no function.
Okay,
Like,
what was their function though?
to spread the word about what was going on, I
To
guess.
tweet all the videos,
Yeah.
right?
Which is what Tom did.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah.
And
I guess
that's how you kind of have to cover it, because when I went to that AEW, the first ever AEW pre-sale ticket press conference, Dave and I went, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot video from my phone and get the video on the F4W Twitter account as
yeah.
fast as humanly possible, all of the angles, because I can't remember if that was televised. It may have been televised on YouTube as well, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this
Well,
giant thing.
remember there was one where Denise Sacedo did that, and she got ended up with like over 100,000 views, and then I think it was after that AEW's just started filming it themselves because
Yes.
like they were like, why are we going to give Denise all this coverage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Denise is very smart. And
yeah,
so, but that's what you do. Like, that's how you cover it, right? Like, you don't have to, in some instances, you do want to talk to people. Like Dave and I got to talk to Cody.
yeah.
Actually, no, we didn't get to talk to Cody. We talked to Tony, who said nothing and was just nervous the whole time. He's much better at this now. And we got Kenny, who was awesome as always. But we saw Cody there. I mean, we probably could have talked to him if we had the time. I also know that when we did do that, when we had these interviews, the wrestling media, the how should I say this? My nickname for this person is Rhino Satan, the Ryan Satins of the world. He was very frustrated because he was doing the scrum thing, and that's how they wanted everyone to do it, was with the scrum thing. And so we knew that we had Kenny and Tony at least, and so we didn't have to worry about the scrum. And Kenny was about to go to the scrum, and he was supposed to follow Brandy, and he was like, I don't even want to go. Let's go do the interview. So like there are, it's quite possible that the right people did get to talk to others for, for certain special interviews or whatever. But yeah, like if you are a part of the media, you went and you kind of feel like you're just part of the spectacle of it, and that you weren't really there for media. But at the same time, you kind of just have to cover what you saw, and you have to talk about it, and you have to write about it, and you have to tweet about it, because that
Yeah.
is kind of part of the deal. But yeah,
And I guess there's networking and stuff that goes on, that you always like to do at these things too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sure the people that went didn't mind, as long as they didn't have to spend too much money to get there.
Well, at some point, you also want to make sure that the cost that it
Yes.
got you out there, that you did get something out of it. So, people like, I know, I believe Sean was there. People like
Yeah.
Sean, like he's gonna, it'll be worth his while just to be amongst all of those people. So I'm
Yeah, and he
sure.
might, he might get some words with, some of the talent and stuff, after the thing's over and whatnot. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of that being said, here is my thought on where we're going. I have no idea. I really don't. And it's almost unwise of me to even say this on a show that is going to be archived, because I'm probably going to be so wrong. But I think now you had it the way that I would have reversed it, but I understand why you had Rock in the tag team on night 2, because it's hard to believe that The Rock is going to be in a match that is not on night 2. I'm assuming that's where you're going.
Well, no. So my original thought was night 1, and that's what I texted Dave. But as we were talking, I got the same feeling you just mentioned. Rock's kind of got to be in night 2. So that, and then I also had the feeling that if Rock gets pinned, you can do the Roman churn and Cody making the save at the end of the second WrestleMania. So you get both nights Cody on top. One night with the title, the next night saving the Rock. So that's kind of why I would do it that way.
You would also get 2 nights of Rock on that show if you do it that way, right? For 100, you'll probably get 2 nights in both ways.
Well, yeah, because he's probably in Roman's corner on night 1. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
See, the way that
2 nights of Rock, 2 nights of Rock, 2 nights of Roman, 2 nights of Cody. Yeah.
The way that I would do it is, now this may piss off a lot of people, and this is why I'm sort of unsure about doing it this way. It just reminds me a little bit too much of, when the McMahons are involved as the heels and they're kind of outshining everybody. But let's say Triple H and The Rock, they have a disagreement about what the actual main event of this show is. And Triple H is like, nope, we're going Cody and Roman as the main event. And The Rock is like, I'm the board of directors. I'm actually your, I'm actually your boss's boss, or he could say whatever he wants, right? And so they actually have a bet. Like, they try and do business and go, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman, tag team match, night 1. If Cody's team wins, Cody gets into the main event against Roman. And if you win, you get to face Roman in the bloodline match. That's what you guys want. Now, it's kind of silly because now they're buddies and then they're going to fight. Maybe there's like this thing that they could do it that way. And the other thing that doesn't make sense out of what I'm saying is, what the hell does Seth get out of this, right?
Right, and the other thing is, why does Cody lose his shot? I guess, losing the tag match, but that doesn't really seem fair.
It doesn't seem fair, but it would be because Rock is being, he's puffing out his chest.
Although I think when you're doing it that way, you're basically telling the fans, Cody's winning night 1. Like,
right.
It's, and that's okay. You can do that.
Yeah. You have a de facto main event, even maybe if you don't have a main event. And then you have Cody and Roman, and The Rock goes, I'm also going to, by the way, Triple H, I didn't tell you about this, but I'm going to be the special guest referee in that match.
Ooh.
And then what you get to is Solo and Jimmy and Paul Heyman and Roman just continually like doing their stuff, and Rock getting pissed off, and then Roman, slapping him and just being like, I'm the man, blah, 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 blah. And so then, like you said, The Rock raises Cody's hand after Cody wins, and then he kind of de facto turns. And then whatever, maybe at WrestleMania 41, then you have Rock and Roman.
Or, night 1 of Netflix Raw. Or,
whenever you want to do that match. So
when Rock wants to do that match.
There are a lot of holes in that idea that I haven't actually tied together to make sense. But I do think this is going to be The Rock versus Triple H in sort of like the power struggle. And that is how we are going to get kind of the chaos of what we're going to get. Now, if they don't do that, I'm not sure why they did that last segment of the press conference. Why Triple H is mad at all. Why, he's...
The hosts even brought it up. I don't know if you caught that, but they said, I think it was McAfee said, oh, this is kind of like Triple H or Rock was pulling rank because he's basically Triple H's boss.
Right.
And when he said, get this fixed, like they muted half of what he said because Rock is a good actor. And Rock came in like he was hot.
Yeah.
And it really came off like a boss telling his underling, get this taken care of. I don't got time for this shit.
Yeah.
And that's how Rock came off there. And that was very interesting. And Triple H, the look in Triple H's face was, you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
I thought they were both really, really good in that segment. And Roman was interesting too, because Roman was like almost taken aback at the way Rock was acting. Like, if you really looked at it, I thought he was subtly really good as well. Like, I think Roman came off like he wasn't even sure what was going on, but he didn't want to face Cody. That was pretty clear.
He's trying to get back in Fast and Furious. There, he's like, this is his audition tape. He's like, look, see how I acted in that segment. I need to be in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, okay. He was subtly good.
We have 15 minutes because what I have to do right after this is I have to go record the Fight Game podcast with John LaRocca. So I'm glad I'm kind of fleshing out my thoughts here because I'm going to have to talk about a lot of this again.
Oh yeah,
And
right.
then on Friday, and then I got to do this again with Dave, but at least I'll have Dave's story about this. So I'll get to kind of,
That's gonna be fun to read.
oh yeah, that's going to be
I
so
might even read it tomorrow. I might not wait till Monday.
yeah. So I think as long as I'm pretty sure we're doing Wrestling Observer Radio. Sometimes he doesn't tell me until like the next morning
Yeah.
if he's got stuff to do. But okay, so we have a few minutes left. Now, do you think the ultimate play here for Peacock, for Endeavor, for Netflix, for SmackDown on USA is to get as many of those? Do we even call them lapsed fans anymore? What do we call them now?
Uh, I mean, I know people hate the word casual, but we were talking about casual fans today in the Discord. And I do think that this might attract a lot of casual fans, like people that are interested in wrestling but don't necessarily watch it.
Mhm.
You know, I think those are the people they're trying to get.
Because what you can do is if you're gonna have The Rock and Triple H, and you're calling back to, the year 1998, you're calling back to 99, you're calling back to 2000. You got Shawn Michaels on NXT. He can always put the chaps back on, right? There's an insidery little beef with Shawn and The Rock going back many years ago that they could play off of. I don't imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin would be involved. He's pretty smart about him making sure that he is the number one ace.
Does Cody get Brett?
Right, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is if you're going to use The Rock and Triple H, do you
Yeah.
lean in and remind people like, oh, like, yeah, these are the guys that I used to watch, and then because this whole thing is about kind of like now showing your kids about what
Yeah.
you used to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that whole thing, I don't know if there's a playbook for that. I don't know if that even helps, but I do wonder if the overall giant play for this thing is that you have Netflix coming, you have all of these upcoming shows on Peacock. That audience is going to be a little bigger. Peacock is one of the services that are growing, even though it is one of the smaller ones. And you have this one opportunity for The Rock to come back. You have that Vince McMahon stench that they're trying to quickly erase, though I don't know if that's going to go away because the Wall Street Journal and now Vice, they're creating content constantly. They're digging, right? We know that they're digging. So I don't know that there is that thing, especially with Triple H being involved in this story. So I just wonder if this is a play really to get as many people as possible to watch WrestleMania and see if you can build. But I don't know. I don't know if you can even do that today. There's just so many
Yeah.
different things that we can watch and we can view. I don't know if watching 2024 WWE as somebody who watched wrestling in 1999 is even doable.
Yeah, it's tough. It's kind of like when they did like the 90210 and they brought back some of the old characters for the new series, or Degrassi when they did that. It kind of feels like that a little bit. So you watch with your kids and you're like, "Oh yeah, he used to be the champion, now he's the boss."
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And everyone knows The Rock. So it's like, how do you tie all this together? Yeah, I mean, there's obviously something to all that. I think, but ultimately, I mean, the goal is to get as many people watching as possible,
Right.
and then give them a reason to keep watching. And that's where like, I know I saw people like, oh, you're making Cody the afterthought and all this, and it's like, man, those people don't get it. Like, coming out of this, he's a bigger star because he's been interacting with The Rock, because he's been interacting with Roman, and because he's going to be carrying the company for the next year when Roman, goes off and does 5 dates, and the Rock shows up when his schedule allows, but Cody's going to be there every week. And so if The Rock, if Cody wins the biggest WrestleMania of all time and pins Roman with The Rock in Roman's corner, or The Rock holding his hand, whatever they do, like, that makes Cody the big deal, right? And so yeah, that's I do like, I think that's the goal. And so, and then everything else is just kind of chess pieces, but main focus. I do think it's interesting that they're making Triple H a part of this. And when you were talking there, it just kind of got me thinking they must be pretty confident that he's going to come out of this clean, like this Vince stuff, because otherwise I don't think they would have him on camera as much as they are, or as much as it seems like they will be.
They also probably created this entire thing before the Vince McMahon stuff dropped, though.
That's true, but then if they're pivoting like people think they are, wouldn't they have pivoted away from Triple H? So, or maybe I guess they still can. I mean, Rock could just fire him. You know what I mean? Like in storyline, they've opened that door.
Yeah.
So and then Rock just says, fine, you're fired, and I'm in the match.
So transferring heat says that Cody is advertised for SmackDown on Friday.
Interesting.
Transferring heat also said the media did get interviews, but the only 2 wrestling media members that got through was Sean and Denise, and the rest were national media. I didn't see any of that, so I'm taking transferring heat
that
for
must
their
be
word.
Yeah, maybe that was on YouTube or something, because I mean the Peacock network broadcast ended.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's interesting.
Okay, we got a couple more minutes left. The TV, as far as week to week, I imagine the ratings are going to still be strong for SmackDown. They're going to be strong for Raw. I do wonder ever so slightly if The Rock is going to be slightly overexposed here, because he seems to be so involved in this thing. He looks like I said, he is like he's all in. Does he get a little, do we see too much of him? Because I was thinking about this. So Raw is coming to San Jose in, it'll be 2 weeks after Monday. And my buddy, Ben Cruz, who hosts Wednesday Worldwide on The Ringer, he's like a giant fan of The Rock. He wore a Rock hat on a Warriors podcast that I did with him earlier today. He said, if Rock is there, man, I don't know how I'm not going to jump the guardrail. That's how excited he is, right?
Yeah,
And
he's close enough that he could.
Right. And if we get those sweet seats, then we're going to be right there. But I don't know if I want to see him on TV every week. But if he's not on TV every week, are people disappointed? Is the paying crowd disappointed? Do you space some of these guys out?
Yeah.
Cody's going to be on. Cody should be on most of them, right? But
Roman's got to be on a lot too.
He's got to be on a lot, but he's not. He hasn't been on many. So he should be on the most. I mean, he's not going to be at Elimination Chamber, so maybe he doesn't care until post Elimination Chamber. Seth has got to be on, but I don't want to see that dude wrestling. I want him legitimately healed as much as possible. And then you're getting Gunther, you're getting Drew, you're getting maybe Damian Priest and Rhea and Becky and Bianca and Bayley and Io and that storyline. I just wonder how you space this stuff out so that people don't get overconsumed with The Rock, because you still want him to be special.
Well, it's interesting because all of his appearances so far, I could be wrong, but I think they've all been unadvertised. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they start advertising it. And if they, and if you do space it out, and let's say he does 6 TVs between now and WrestleMania, those shows that they advertise them for, I mean, obviously I think everything's gonna be sold out, like from here to Mania, virtually sold out, the way they do sellouts now. But I mean, they're going to be strong gates. I think that you put The Rock on a TV show, and as long as you're not, again, overexposing and putting him on like Raw and SmackDown every week, you're probably going to spike those numbers on those weeks. And then on the off weeks when he's not there, you're going to show recaps of it. You're going to have people talking about The Rock. You might even have a taped thing from him, but you've got those live appearances from The Rock are going to be special. I think, and like I said, unless they're doing, I mean, even if they did it for 2 months, I don't know, man, it's The Rock. Like the closest thing I can think of is when he came back. There was one time, I think in like 2003, when he started to get a little long in the tooth, but he's so much better now, he's so much of a bigger star, and he handles a crowd better, and he plays the crowd like a fiddle. And I think back then he was just trying to still figure it out, you know. So
I remember. I want to say, gosh, this had to be 2012 when he was building up one of the WrestleManias with John Cena. He actually got attacked by the Shield on this show, and I remember this because one of the officers in the security guards was one Dave Dutra,
oh
independent wrestler back. I remember him and I forget the other guy's name, but there's a story with Dave about why he was in the spot and the other person wasn't that he tells. And like I bought these tickets blind, right? Not knowing if Rock was going to be there. I bought them for my kids for Christmas. And then as we got closer, because I think the show, I want to say the show's in January. As we got closer to Christmas, then he was on the advertisement. And I was like, okay, great. I'm glad that I'm glad that he's there. But because if you're doing that, if you're buying these tickets because you think The Rock is going to be there, but you don't know, a little bit of a bummer if he's not there. So I think they should probably get ahead of that stuff to make sure that, you know, if you want to see The Rock live one more time, like I honestly don't care if he's on the San Jose show or not, but I know Ben really, really cares. And he's already mad at me because I said that, you know, he may not be on there. He's like, don't put that out there. So that, you know, there are going to be some people and it's going to be loud, and I think the response from the live crowd is going to be really interesting as we go through this thing. So, because the more he leans into the heel stuff, he might actually get cheered. Like the crowd is so weird.
I know, and Cody, especially, you know what, with Cody backing off and with Punk saying he should have thrown down. I mean, we've said this since Cody debuted that at some point the fans are going to turn on him,
and they haven't yet. 2 years in, they have not.
But that's the kind of thing where they might. You know, do you catch like CM Punk even made a comment about man buns, which Jack Perry wasn't he wearing a man bun? Yeah, like that was not veiled at all. Just, congrats, Phil.
So according to Transferring Heat as well, he said, actually, I don't know if Transferring Heat is male or female. Transferring Heat said, according to Nick Hausman, WWE offered refunds to media members that didn't get into the press scrum area. So maybe there were more media folks.
I thought it was free to get in there. Or are they talking like refunds on your flight?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, like that's weird. Yeah, it's free to get in,
unless they had a specific number of seats for media, and then everybody else was fill in. I don't know what the refund would be though.
Because I remember
you're
like
credentialed. You're credentialed.
Yeah, and it was free, and it was free for the fans too. I thought.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, that's interesting though.
All right, we are done with another episode of Broken News. The thing I like about this show is that it's not scheduled, and we just do it when something happens, and you are generally available after a specific time, and you're kind of a night owl, so this definitely works. So,
and I like that we get a lot of people watching and commenting. That's fun. It's always more fun to do a show when you're doing that.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you to Paul Fontaine. I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.